Okay, so welcome to Journey Within with myself, Nigel Paul Miller. Today I'm joined by relationship expert Laura Rinnankoski. Laura is a world-class international life and relationship coach, a motivational speaker, an NLP practitioner, fluent in English, Spanish, Finnish, Italian, and French. She's rubbed shoulders with some of the top spiritual empowerment leaders in the world, including Jack Canfield and Deepak Chopra. She's been featured in the Irish Times. She's written articles for Positive Life magazine. And get this, she even worked on the advertising campaign for the launch of the International Space Station. How cool is that? Welcome to Journey Within, Laura. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
You're very, very welcome. Tell us a little bit about your early years. You were born in Finland, but you actually grew up in Venezuela. Is that right?
Yes. I was born in Finland. When I was 5 months old, my family moved to Venezuela. So I grew up in Venezuela. And I mean, Venezuela at that time was, it was a different country to what it is right now. I mean, right now it's going through a very, very difficult, time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I grew up like in the golden years of Venezuela. And I mean, I love Venezuela. It's another home for me. And in Venezuela, I went to international American schools. So all my education was in American English. So when people meet me, they always think I'm American. And then I went to university in Boston. I went to Boston University. And then after Boston, I moved to Miami. I lived in Miami and worked in advertising agencies. And then I came to Dublin and became a life coach. A life coach in Dublin and an NLP practitioner in Dublin. So
wow.
Yeah. That's kind of like my life, like in a nutshell.
That's your life story. And I mean, so what motivated you to move to Ireland of all places?
Yeah, obviously. Obviously, I came here for the weather, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, the real reason was because my sister used to live here.
Ah.
My sister used to live here and, like I left the States, because I had working visas in the States. So, and both companies were going to get me the green card, but, it's very difficult to get a green card. And, companies basically have to, interview Americans and, say why these Americans can't do your job, So, I mean, I really feel like it wasn't my destiny to stay in the States. It was my destiny to come back to Europe,
Yeah.
So I basically sold everything that I had, my car, my possessions, packed everything into boxes and came to Ireland, to start a new life. And I came to Ireland, because my sister was here at the time. The language is English, and I thought that it would be a good place to start my life in Europe. And, I'm still here.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow.
So I like it. Yeah, despite the weather, I like it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's one thing we have to put up with here is the weather.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because obviously, like you got into being a life coach, but you're kind of a life coach that specializes in relationships.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what kind of brought you to that point where you decided you want to actually specialize in relationships?
Why did I specialize in relationships? Well, I mean, relationships is something like everything in life is about relationships, right? Like you have your relationships, with your family, your relationships with your friends, your relationships with your coworkers, your relationships, with your partners. So it's like, life revolves around relationships really, right? And of course I've had my own experiences with relationships. And it was one of those things, like when I trained to become a coach, I really didn't think that I would specialize in relationship coaching, but I think it was like one of those things that evolved, because of my own experiences, because of the experiences of my clients, the experiences of my friends, So it's like, I've been through a lot and, I've coached, people a lot around relationships and my friends as well. And, the most important thing in relationships and relationship coaching is that, the most important relationship you're ever going to have is the relationship with yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Like everything starts and ends with you always, like it's so much easier to blame other people and, your childhood and your parents, whoever you want to blame, right? Or like your ex-partners. but everything always comes back to you, right? And I think that I mean, the relationship that you have with yourself is the most important relationship that you'll ever have, because all the relationships in your life are a reflection of the relationship that you have with yourself. So yeah, so it always comes back to you, always.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. It really is the case, you know. And I suppose that's where the old adage comes from, you know. When you laugh, the world laughs with you. When you cry alone. You know, because when you're in a good mood and you go out into your day and you're interacting with people and you're creating that positive energy, you know, people most of the time will reflect that back to you. Yeah,
definitely. And it's like, you know, it's like we see the world the way that we are, right? Like when you're happy, you see happiness in the world. When you're sad and heartbroken, you see the world through the lens of a broken heart. And you see sadness everywhere, right? So it's like, yeah, you see the world depending on how you are, you know? So yeah, definitely.
It's absolutely incredible, like, because I mean, most people are kind of raised to believe in this kind of objective outside world that has, you know, we don't have any kind of control over it. The world kind of just goes on and, you know, we don't have really any power in the world. But
yeah,
you know, subjectively, when you go into your day and depending on your mood, I mean, you can see that you really do have power when you're going around interacting with people, you know?
Definitely. And like one thing that is really important and that I talk in my coaching all the time is, you know, your self-talk. Like, how do you talk to yourself, right? Because I mean, there's so many people that go around beating themselves up and telling themselves horrible things, right? And the thing is that the way that you talk to yourself, you're telling the rest of the world, talk to me like this, treat me like this, right? So it's like you need to be your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy. And most people tend to be their own worst enemies. So you have to be your own best friend. You know?
Absolutely.
Put things into your life, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, and I think that's kind of part of personal development, you know, is kind of learning to accept yourself, learning to, you know, embrace who you are. And, you know, kind of just realizing that you are an individual in the world, you know, and I think a lot of times we're brought up to try and fit in with everybody. You know, when you're kind of a teenager, you're trying to find your social circle, you're trying to fit in.
Yes.
You know, because you want to feel a sense of belonging. You want to feel like that, you know, you're accepted by society. But at the end of the day, people can't accept you until you accept yourself, you know?
Yeah, that is so true. That is 100%. 100%. If you don't accept yourself, you know, how do you expect other people to accept you? And if you don't love yourself, how do you expect other people to love you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. And they say you should always, like, love yourself first before you try and love someone else.
Yes.
That's why people go through so many kind of, you know, recycling similar relationships in their lives, because they keep going into the relationship and trying to, you know, take something and gain something from the partner without giving it. And it's crazy, like, you know, but it takes such a long time to realize that type of stuff, you know?
No, exactly. I mean, like, yeah, it's very common for people to repeat patterns, you know, over and over again in relationships, right? And like the way that you break a pattern is first by becoming aware that you have this pattern, right? Because if you're not aware of it, you're just going to keep on repeating it over and over, right? So then when you become aware of the pattern, then, you know, I mean, there's many different ways of breaking it, but of course the awareness is the most important thing. And then, like, if you say no to something that you would have said yes to in the past, that's breaking a pattern right there, right? So you're telling yourself and you're telling the world and the universe, no, I'm not going to put up with this. This is not what I want, you know? And then you create the space and the opportunity for a different kind of person to come in, right? So true.
So true. I mean,
And the thing is, life will test you, right? Life will test you. If you're determined to break a pattern, life will test you, and life will put the exact same pattern in front of you again and be like, okay, what are you going to do now? Are you going to say yes or are you going to say no? You know?
It's so true. I've experienced that myself time and time again.
Yeah, me too.
It's crazy and it's amazing. I mean, you know, just kind of becoming conscious of that and being able to see the patterns repeat themselves and becoming aware and kind of catching it and going, nope,
yes.
I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that again.
Exactly. Yeah. that's why it's really, really important, like, for you to know what is it that you want, right? And it's like, many times people like always think like, they think about the list that they want of a partner. I want my partner to be like this and like this, like this. It's like they have like this whole laundry list, right? And yeah, it's good to know what you want, but then it's also really important to think about what are you going to bring to this relationship, right? Because so like it needs to be like balanced, right? And I mean, many times, like, so many people are focused on, what am I going to get from the other person? And it's like the most important thing is what you bring to that relationship, right?
Absolutely.
And you can only share something that you have within yourself, right? You can't share something that you don't have, right? And then like it's actually, Deepak, Deepak Chopra, who I've seen, several times, and he's written so many books, and he's written a lot about relationships. And one thing that he says is, become the person that you want to be with, right? And that's something that that's something that I've always like remembered, and that I always tell my clients. Like, become the person that you want to be with. Like, if you want to be with a happy person, you have to be happy. If you're sad, miserable, and depressed, there's no way that you're gonna attract a happy person. You're gonna attract another sad, miserable, and depressed person. But it's true. I mean, it's the law of attraction,
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because, I mean, like attracts like,
Yeah. And even if, like, I mean, sometimes we can think we're kind of a happy, kind of high vibrational person, but then we can still attract these kind of, not so happy people into our lives. So it's almost like there's a part of ourselves that we need to kind of clear.
Yes.
A part of ourselves that we need to kind of let go of. And that's the thing. It's kind of like you're attracting parts of yourself so that you can heal those parts of yourself, so that you can kind of move on to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And of course, like, excuse me, all these things are happening like on a conscious level and also unconscious level. So of course there's many different layers to this. There's many different layers. And like, there's many different layers, and like one very important thing is like beliefs. Your beliefs are extremely important. What do you believe about yourself, about the world, about like, men and women and relationships? Like, that is incredibly important, your beliefs.
Absolutely.
And your beliefs, and like I work with people all the time, that they basically like don't believe that the kind of person that they want is like even exists, right? And then I tell them, listen, how can you possibly meet somebody that you don't even believe exists? It's completely impossible. It's completely impossible, energetically, physically, in all ways, right? So then, like, one thing that I say, many times, like many single people, many times they'll be like, oh, like there's no, like single women, can say, oh, there's no good men out there, they're all taken, or, they don't want, real relationships and all of this, right? And the thing is that if that's what you believe, that's what you're going to attract, right? Like,
absolutely.
if you think, if that's what you think, that's what you're going to attract. So when you go out, like, you need to think, that there's lots of great men out there, right? Because how are you gonna meet somebody that you don't even believe exists? Yeah. So and true. There are great men out there. So, and you need to believe that.
But do you find that what I think about that is that a lot of times people go around kind of stating those things because it's kind of like a defense mechanism, because they've been hurt so many times in their lives, and they've been, they just kind of become resentful, and which is understandable, but they basically just go, oh, there's no one good out there for me, because they're looking at their past experiences. They're using their past experiences as a reference for their future possibilities.
Yes, and that's a huge mistake, right? That's a huge mistake. And like Anthony Robbins talks a lot about this, and I mean, I think everybody talks about this. Don't let your past dictate your present and your future, right? And the thing is that most people do live like that. Most people look at their past, or you're like, okay, well, all my relationships have been horrible. None of them have worked. So I'm doomed, and I'm never going to find a person. I'm never going to find a relationship that works. But the key is that you learn from the past, you learn from the mistakes that you made in the past, and you learn from every relationship and every interaction you have with people, right? So you can break patterns, and even though even if you haven't had good luck in relationships, or you keep attracting the wrong type of people, you can change it. You can change those patterns.
Absolutely, but you have to believe it first, and I think that's the hardest part for people, because the way we're raised in society is we're always referencing the past.
Yes, that's
most people they don't consider the possibilities of the future. They don't, like, for themselves. They kind of restrict themselves. They cut themselves off from that. So then it comes back to self-love again. Really, I mean, I think. Well,
that's why, and like self-love is literally something that every single one of us has to work on every single day. It is the most important thing that we all need to master, and it's also the hardest thing many times. So it's something that you literally have to work on every single day, because everybody has good days and bad days. Everybody. Even Anthony Robbins and Deepak Chopra and Jack Canfield, they have bad days too, right? Yeah, exactly. Even these gurus, yeah. So, but the trick is that you don't get stuck in it. The trick is that, you learn whatever you need to learn and you move on,
Absolutely, 100%. And I think one thing that's helped me a lot over the years with regards to stuff like that is just being able to release stuff, like just to be able to let go of stuff emotionally and to kind of go into meditation. And forgiveness for me is one of the most powerful things I've, discovered in my life.
That is
just being able to forgive people from your past and people who've hurt you and all that type of stuff, and relationships and stuff. Just sending them kind of forgiveness.
Forgiveness is huge, and the thing with forgiveness, right, is that many times people, like, clients have said to me in the past, like, no, but you don't understand what this person did to me. Like, there's no way that I can forgive this person. And I say, listen, by you forgiving this person, you're not saying that what they did was fine. But what you're saying is that it's not going to affect you anymore, right? Because when you don't forgive, it's like you're drinking the poison and you expect the other person to die.
Yeah.
But you're the one that's dying and you're the one that's drinking the poison, right? When you don't forgive and you're really resentful. So forgiveness is huge.
But it's also hard for some people to kind of wrap their heads around that concept, because they just kind of think, exactly, look, what this person has done to me and how they've made me feel. Like, it's always about the emotion, always about the feeling. Like, so if somebody's made them feel a certain way, they kind of resent that person because, but the thing about it is also there's kind of a balance between your own perception of the person, your own issues, your own kind of past, that you kind of, use as a filter to interpret what the other person is doing. And a lot of times miscommunication comes about because you assume a person is trying to make you feel a certain way, but they're actually not doing that at all.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And the thing is, right? Like, I know that it's really hard to understand this, but nobody can make you feel a certain way, right? Because the thing is that you always have a choice. You always have a choice of how you feel, right? Like whatever anybody says to you, it's like if somebody says something to us and it's hurtful to us, like the way that we react, we react emotionally and we get hurt and all of this, right? But then we forget that we actually have a choice. We actually have a choice, right? We have a choice of getting hurt or not getting hurt, or this thing not affecting us at all, right? We always have a choice, and I think that's really powerful, and it's something that most people don't think about at all, because they react out of emotions and they react out of their past experiences, right?
Exactly. And I think
you always have a choice. You always have a choice.
But the thing is, I think the reason why people don't feel they have a choice is because, like, emotion first occurs in the body. Like, so you feel it in your chest or you feel it in your gut, you feel it first. And the thing is, you've got that kind of Pavlovian response, most people, where they haven't trained themselves to pause before they respond. They just jump on the emotion straight away and they react to it. Like, and it's and
the key is to pause. The key is to pause, and in that pause, you can make a choice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the key.
Absolutely, 100%.
You take a couple of deep breaths, like breathing, breathing and pausing, like that's connected and very effective. Very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your program, your Breakthrough to Love program.
Yes,
What's all
Breakthrough
this
to
about?
Love.
I like the title.
Right? Yeah, right. It's a powerful, powerful title. And the Breakthrough to Love program is it's basically like a 6-week course that I put together, and I basically put into it everything that I've learned, like in my own life, and in the time that that I've been coaching. I mean, I've been coaching for 12 years now, so I've been doing this for a long time. So I mean, basically, like, it's a program, that focuses on, improving the relationship that you have with yourself, right? Like, that's the key. That's the key thing. I mean, we go through everything. I mean, of course, like, self-love is huge. I mean, I talk about self-love all the time. It's like I sound like a broken record talking about self-love, but the thing is that it's the most important thing. It's the most important thing.
Yes.
I mean, self-love, self-worth, self-acceptance, all these self things are things that nobody else can give to you. You're the only one that can give them to yourself. And the problem is that most people are looking for validation and for love from another person. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And even all these things that we have in society of, you complete me and my other half and all of this, like, that is so wrong.
I know, but it's everywhere.
These stupid sayings,
But they're everywhere. Movies, TV shows. I mean, it's like we're brought up, and that's one thing I was talking to someone about a while ago. It's like we're totally brainwashed into this concept of like finding this one person to complete us. And I think why people go through so much problems in their lives with relationships is because of that one concept, because they feel that this person is the best it's going to get. Like, this is as good as it's going to get. They're never going to be able to find anything. Like, they get so attached to it. I know in myself, my own life, that's always been the pattern. That's when you get so attached to the person because you think there's no one else out there for you. You think they're the one. And it's just like, it's so counterproductive. Like,
it is. And even also, like the fairy tales of, all the fairy tales that are read to children of, and then the prince and princess get married and live happily ever after. I mean, that's not realistic, Like, I have a huge problem with these fairy tales too, But I mean, I think it's good that there's, new movies now like Frozen, and like, they're different, and it's about like all these characters, becoming empowered and not waiting for somebody to save them, because the truth is that nobody is gonna like nobody else is going to save us. We all have to save ourselves. No prince is going to come and save us.
Exactly. It's so true. It's like that self-empowerment, personal empowerment. And I think nowadays, I don't know about you, but I've kind of noticed that kids seem to be a lot more they just seem to have much higher self-esteem than I remember them back, when I was a kid or whatever, and I think it's because of a lot more kind of empowering messages, in movies and stuff like that. They're, encouraging them to express themselves individually. Which is really, really good,
Yeah, definitely. And I think also, like, kids are growing up really fast these days. They're growing up, like, I mean, my God, everything that they're exposed to, like, they're exposed to so much more than what we were exposed to when we were growing up, So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's a whole different discussion.
It is, isn't it? It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just wanted to go a little bit more into the breakthrough to love. So, like, I know that you were telling me about the article that you were featured in the Irish Times was actually a girl who had gone through your course. She was so inspired by it that she decided to write an article about you.
Yes, imagine that.
That's pretty cool. Like,
that's how good the course is.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And like, so with the people that you've kind of that have gone through the course, what sort of emotional responses have you received from people who have done it?
I've gotten very, very positive feedback, about the course, and like a lot of them, found like relationships as well, But I mean, the most important thing about that course is, giving people like their power back. Like, it's about empowering people, right? Like, it's, of course, like it's great to find relationships and all that, but the most important thing is, is to feel good about yourself and to feel empowered within yourself. That's the most important thing. Because when you feel like that, then you can create amazing things into your life, you know? Like you can, you know, then you start attracting amazing people, events, and circumstances into your life, you know? And that includes relationships, you know, and nice people. So yeah, the feedback has been very, very positive.
Okay, so say for somebody listening to this episode, what advice would you give them to kind of start improving their sense of self-love in their lives?
That's a good one. Well, you start with little things, right? Like baby steps, you know, the baby steps lead to like the bigger steps. And like one exercise that I love giving my clients that like when they first hear about it, they freak out. I tell them to write a list of things that they love about themselves, right? And first I say 100 and they're like, oh my God, how could I possibly think about 100 things that I love about myself? But yeah, exactly. It's like 100. And I actually had to do this exercise with a coach that I was working with. And I had the same reaction at the beginning. I was like, how could I possibly think of 100 things? But it's amazing what happens when you sit down and you actually start doing, like writing this list, all these things start coming to you. But like the important thing about this list is not like, it's not important if you write 100 things or 50 things or 20 things. The important thing is to actually do it. The important thing is to actually like sit down and like write down like the things that you love and appreciate about yourself, right? Because if you don't love and appreciate those things, like how do you expect other people, you know, to love and appreciate you? So I think that would be the first thing. You know,
I think I'm going to do that after this call.
Yeah, you can do this exercise too, Nigel.
That's so good. I've never heard of that before. Like writing down.
No, man, there you go.
100 things that you like about yourself or that you love about yourself. I mean,
that's your homework. That's your homework.
Yeah. No, that's really, really cool. I really, really like that now. Because, yeah, I mean, society, we're just not raised like that in society, you know. We're always raised to faults.
I know.
You know, especially with, like, media, you know, with this kind of industry with magazines and stuff. And especially now with, like, you know, Photoshop and all that, like, making these models look perfect. And people are trying to strive for this perfectionism. You know, and I just think it is damaging on people's psychology. So yeah, so that's a fantastic exercise to recommend. Thank you so much for that. I think
I like it. Now you can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely, I will indeed. So we'll just leave the final question here because we're running out of time. But if you could create 3 emotional states for the whole world to experience at the same time, okay, what would they be? And why?
3 emotional states for the whole world to experience at the same time. Okay. Well, love, joy. Well, like the 3 that come to me are love, joy, and happiness. I mean, my God, what else can you ask for? You know? My God, if the whole world experienced love, joy, and happiness, like it would be such a great world. Such a great world. Imagine everybody feeling love, everybody feeling joy, and everybody feeling happiness. Like it would literally, you know, be a world without, you know, all the crazy conflicts and all the wars. Yeah. Love, joy, and happiness. That's all you need.
100%. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a nice little bit to end off on there. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, Laura. It was an absolute pleasure having you on today. I'm certain I'll be having you on again. I'm sure there's many, many more things we can talk about. But thank you so much. I really, really
thank you. Thank you so much, Nigel. I really enjoyed this. And yeah, we'll definitely talk again.
Okay, Laura. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. All the best.
Okay, take care. Bye.